Well, Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull faces a tricky weekend with a Sydney by-election that's turned into a close race. The outcome may determine the fate of the government itself. Bloomberg's Australia and New Zealand managing editor Ed Johnson is tracking this. Ed, it's a really difficult situation just over the water there in Bennelong, isn't it?
It is, and as you say, it's going to be a close fight. Just a little bit of background about this vote and why it's been called. John Alexander, former world number 8 tennis player back in the 1970s. He's held the seat since 2010, but he stepped down last month. He's one of about a dozen lawmakers in Australia who have been caught up in this citizenship saga. They've been tricked out by realising that they're actually dual nationals. Alexander found out that he was actually a British citizen as well as an Australian citizen, thus breaching the Constitution. So he stepped down from Parliament. He's since renounced his British citizenship and is trying to reclaim that seat. But it's going to be a tight race. He is facing off against Christina Keneally. She's a former New South Wales state premier and is representing the Labour Party, and polls have put them both on about 50-50, so anything could happen on the night.
Yeah, that used to be John Howard's old seat, so it used to be welded on for the Liberal Party, really, but it is in play. How have the candidates been campaigning, and how's the race going to end, do you think?
It's definitely in play, and I think that the clearest indication of that is that both Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull and Labour Party leader Bill Shorten have both been out there in the constituency campaigning very, very aggressively in support of their candidates. Very important race for Turnbull, as you say. If Alexander regains the seat, then Turnbull regains his parliamentary majority. If he doesn't, then Turnbull's going to be faced with a situation where he'll be leading a minority government, relying on the support of independent MPs to pass legislation. Now, that in itself is not a huge burden on him. He's been doing that for the past few weeks. He does have the support of those crossbench MPs, but you have to ask whether or not being in charge of a minority government would undermine his authority and lead maybe some lawmakers in his party to question whether he would be the best person to lead the Liberals into national elections due in 2019.